Experience podcasting with 4 years of history. Inspired by the divine. Experience ML Soul of Detroit.
You asked it around, get the question out of my face. It's gone.
What are you doing? Come on.
That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
You might be qualified, ML.
I'm not qualified for this job.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now?
Unbelievable. I am so sorry that only our Patreon members who get the video feed of this story saw our first ever video introduction, a tribute to Falun Shawn. It was a spectacular, produced by our own Marc Fellhauer, who may or may not oppose the communist regime in China. That's to be determined later. He is from Ann Arbor.
I think the outro is just as good, too.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
I think so.
Well, so I guess I'm not that disappointed, because if you are a Patreon member of the show and you're getting the video of this, you're supporting the show, so you're entitled to a little something extra. So that's wonderful. Still not too late to sign up for Patreon and support the show. And you can support the show in lots of ways. You can do business with our sponsors like Dr. Yaldo. We're pleased to announce that he is a longtime Red Shovel sponsor, the Yaldo Eye Center. He's provided many thousands of Michiganders with state-of-the-art eye procedures, giving them precise vision, both near and far, without the need for glasses, contacts, or reading glasses. I've had LASIK done, and I highly recommend it. So Dr. Yaldo, great to have him back on the show. And, of course, Zott Ford, another longtime sponsor of the Red Shovel Network. One of our original sponsors is back with us, giving you great deals at Zott Ford and Holly. We'll tell you a little later on how to take advantage of those deals. 2023s, those are new cars, by the way. Those have not had any miles on them. And 2024s, you can get some of these great rigs for something like $200 a month on a lease. That is unheard of. And then if you're looking to make a long-term financial play, our friend Luke Nowacki can tell you how to set yourself up for a brighter tomorrow. Don't watch the stock market. It's up again. It's down again. It's up again. Luke knows what to do. You can just sit back and say, use the Force, Luke. He'll switch off his bailed computer and still blow up the Death Star for you.
Sure.
Yeah, okay. Well, we are joined today remotely by Shawn Windsor, who got in his car, drove to Starbucks. They were out of chai grande, mocha latte with a cinnamon stick, and decided to go back home because he said, if I can't get my morning Joe, life is not worth living.
I honestly don't even know if he's paying attention. Are you paying attention, Shawn?
Well, I was just thinking about the fact that Mike got the very successful LASIK surgery and yet still wears glasses from time to time. Is that part of the poser in you? Or is that just
you know what, Shawn, a little later in the show, we'll tell you how Dr. Yaldo's multifocal implant procedure can help you if you get to be in your 50s like I am, live a life without glasses. Because when I had LASIK 16 years ago, I had 20/15 vision. I still have 20/15 vision, but when you get older, it gets harder to read up close. Old-time LASIK didn't take care of that. But as you so sagely set up, Dr. Yaldo has a solution, and you can get rid of these glasses. And sometime...
But you'll still wear yours, right?
Well, no, sometime in the near future, I may go see Dr. Y and get rid of these. But I happen to think they make me look intelligent, which I need all the help I can get there.
But you can put fake lenses in, right? So you could still look very smart.
Sort of a Clark Kent thing?
Yeah. Well,
smart and good looking, right? Handsome.
A Clark Kent thing like you're Superman? Is that what you're trying to get at?
You know, I'm not saying that. If somebody wants to stumble upon that on their own, it's fair.
No, I think Clark Kent used a little product in his hair too, so to keep that sweat back a little bit at the top. Yours is a little bit different, but I think it's along the same line. So you're good,
Shawn.
Superman.
How far did you make it away from your house before you turned back and went back home?
Well, it was tricky getting out. My street is a sheet of ice, so I started backing out. I thought, if this is ice, then I thought, well, maybe sometimes. You know, it's the side streets don't get salted and treat the same treatment. So I thought, all right. So I slowly got out into a different road, and then and realized that no.
That's
and
not
plus,
worth
I
it.
left the house under protest from my wife, who was furious that I was even going to try.
Well, I thought she was.
Because the schools are canceled, because she didn't want to stress. She didn't want to worry about me, taking an hour and a half to get over there, and so yeah, I left despite being told not to, because that's how much I care about the two of you, and I wanted to see you, and maybe shake your hand and that sort of thing. But no, I got out and got a few lights, and okay, I'll give it a little bit longer. And then I thought, no, this is too much. She was right. So,
And you've been banished to the den, I see.
this is where I sit, and this is where the magic happens.
Oh,
This is where the Frank Ragnow stories happen. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's what you consider magic these days? Is
Well,
that
yeah,
what Mrs. Windsor
you,
considers magic? You being alone
when
by
you
yourself in a room for several hours?
That's right. That's right. When you find out that the best center in the NFL is playing for the most beloved team around here, and it's 4:30 in the morning, and wonder know where the hell the game plan is, so he can catalog that in his brain and then use that, and that's really the key to the offense. Yeah, that's kind of fun to write about. I mean, I know you're thinking about a different kind of fun, but to me, that's kind of fun too.
I'm just glad that your wife gets some time alone with a bodice ripper while you're in there hashing up syllables for the old free press.
Yeah, I don't really know what a syllable is.
Well, you string a lot of them together, that's for sure. Big news day today. Shawn is recovering as well from the football season that won't end, and is probably getting ready to fly to San Francisco, where the weather's probably the same, even though it's California.
A little warmer, but more damp, more humid.
Okay. Which is what happens where the magic happens. The Crumbley trial is underway today. My wife, I'm not saying she's more of a man than Shawn. She drove to cover the trial in Oakland County Circuit Court.
And you mean the parent?
Yeah,
the parents.
what county is that? It's Oakland County, right? From Wayne County.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, she didn't have to travel through horse country to get to a main road like Hare Windsor, the master
Well,
of the back roads.
I live on a dirt road, yeah, for sure. I live in Washington County. The roads it's different. It's a different way. Often you will get snow, you won't. You get snow, we won't. It's a big area, and you should know that.
I know, but it's not like you live 8 states away. I mean, it is just a good 45 minutes.
I've been to Shawn's house.
Yeah,
I went out there
no
one time.
and no weather, yeah.
He was fixing up the fence because some of the Percheron stallions might get out of the corral. It was him and Kevin Costner driving around an old 150. It was kind of cool. They call it Maze Stone where he lives. It's quite a story.
I live on a dirt road in a cinder block house that's really tiny.
Cinder block.
But I don't need all those trappings
encrusted
like y'all
with
do.
gold.
I guess I shouldn't say Marc, but
The trappings of suburbia, the trappings of Detroit for ML.
That's it. Yeah, that's we don't even have speed trappings because there's no police. We just have those damn speed bumps.
You live in a beautiful brick encampment, don't you?
No, it's right. It's on Main Street. It's right open on the road. We welcome the public. We try not to hide away in wine country. WHINE. But no. So Crumbley trial starts today. It's Ethan Crumbley's mother who's on trial. This was kind of extraordinary, not just because until Monday we didn't know which of the parents was going to go on trial because they're going to have separate trials because it now looks like they may have divergent interests where they both are going to, in one way or the other, suggest that they were not the worst parent or the most responsible parent. So that's going to get very interesting. And Teresa's covering that for the Free Press. So check out her work and Shawn's work at free.com. I think it's like $1 to subscribe for 6 months. So don't cry about the paywall. And Teresa also reported yesterday that Ethan Crumbley, who went before a judge last month or maybe in December and just said, hey, make the victims happy. Give them what they want. Basically life with no chance of parole. Kind of a extraordinary position. Well, then the Michigan Court of Appeals said, hey, you can't always do these. And so now on the eve of his mom's trial, he's got new lawyers who are saying, we want to reconsider his sentence.
And the other thing I thought he did during sentencing too was say that, look, this is all him. This is 100% me.
Yeah, my parents had nothing to do with it.
So naturally, his parents want to put him on the stand and raise that up in their case. But that just seems, with the appeal going on, I don't know how you can do that at the same time.
Well, you're exactly right, because now he may argue something for a more lenient sentence, and his new attorneys have taken the position that he doesn't wish to testify, and if he is put on the stand, he will invoke his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination. So if they put him on the stand, instead of saying, this was all me, they had nothing to do with it, he might be like, I got nothing to say. And
how does that play in front of a jury if a guy's up there pleading the Fifth? I mean, because it's kind of like, what do they say, ringing the bell? I mean, you know when someone pleads the Fifth what they're really saying, even though you're not supposed to.
Yeah, so the legal parlance is you can't unring the bell, which basically means if you say something like, why'd you beat your wife? And the judge is, please forget that. You're not supposed to talk about domestic violence here. You can't take that back. And sometimes it leads to a mistrial. But
if you plead the Fifth, I mean, everyone knows what pleading the Fifth means. But if he says that, then you kind of figure, yeah, okay, I know what you're really doing here.
Well, and I think that's where the quality of your lawyer comes to bear, because if you just say, I got nothing to say, and the whole Fifth means you won't incriminate yourself, it suggests that what you had to say on your own behalf might be incriminating. So it's a de facto, I did it.
Yeah.
But I think if you have an attorney who gets up there and says, hey, listen, this is his right or her right or their right. It doesn't mean anything. You're not supposed to read anything into it. And you explain that one of the reasons why you don't want to do that is because once you say something, now you're open to cross-examination and people can go all over the map with this. I mean, there are times when you might want to get up there and just say, hey, listen, I didn't do it. End of story. And then your attorney says, thank you, Mr. Fellhauer. And then the opposing counsel comes up and says, I'm attorney Shawn Windsor. I was born in Texas and maybe stole some motorbikes and did some orange sunshine on a beach, but that doesn't have anything to do with this. And can I ask a question? Do you really care about what's going on in the world and what's right and wrong and everything like that? And then start asking you all kinds of crazy ass questions, because on cross-examination.
Wait, no, go back to that. It was interesting.
Actually, it was my wife that did the orange sunshine. I was more of a beans guy.
That's nice that you decided to bring me in. By the way, I do have a question. Is it time for room 7609?
Oh, knock it off.
Hey, you can pee in your own toilet.
People care about this.
And do you have a bidet at home, by the way? Are those?
No.
Is that zoning in Ann Arbor? You must have a bidet.
No, just a regular toilet.
Okay, so it's you can stand and pee, but they just blow sunshine up your ass. There. Well, I'm glad we brought Shawn into it. He's packed with information and energy.
He's so bummed.
She's like, nah, don't talk about my urethra. But anyway, cross-examination is where things, as Mike Rattay memorably said during the Kilpatrick public corruption trial. Get the bell ready. Examination is where they. He said, examination is where they present the turkey. Cross-examination is where they carve up the turkey.
What a great line. That's so ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's true.
When we were waiting for the jury to come back, we had like 2 or 3 weeks, and we had to fill air every day. So we did all kinds of different stories. Like we did a version of Bob Dylan's Subterranean Homesick Blues, where we told the whole story of the Kilpatrick trial. One day we just did Rattay's Greatest Hits, where we strung together all of Rattay's most memorable sound bites. Some of the prosecutors were so mad that we gave Rattay all that FaceTime that they wouldn't talk to me they never really said anything.
Come on.
And they never really said anything on camera, but they weren't even saying no comment. And finally somebody said, we were kind of upset that you gave Rattay all that time. And I said, well, if you guys had something, we would have done the same thing. Yeah. So, I mean.
And those guys that were, we know Bellot. Was it Bellot that was complaining?
No,
he's an interesting guy. I'm just saying, though.
They had a whole team. It might have been Bellot who said, "Hey, people are kind of pissed off about that. Yeah, why'd you do that?" But no,
because I'm trying to sell papers. Is that what you said? And
well,
he's interesting.
At that time, it was Fox too. But
okay, even more so.
But
even worse so.
He was one of the few guys who talked about the case, and if you string those sound bites together, it's another way of kind of recapping it. So it was.
Well, I just hope these
good stuff.
Parents' trials go fast. I just want to be done with this case. because I still maintain the parents are going to get off. I really feel that way.
You just want to be done with it, eh?
Well, the trials. I mean, Oxford is just, doesn't time heal wounds, and every time you bring this up, it's still, dragging it out more, talking about Ethan, and I don't know. I mean, I'm connected to it in that I live here, but I'm not from Oxford. I don't have family members that go there. You know what I mean?
Well, the other thing is, depending on what happens with this first parent, if the first parent gets convicted, odds are there will not be a second trial. The other parent will cut a deal.
Yeah.
If the first parent, the mother in this case, gets acquitted, then the second parent is probably going to be like, let's play ball because this can be done. If the first parent ends in a hung jury, they may go right to the other parent and come back to that one, which would be interesting.
God.
So
how do they decide whose trial goes first?
I have no idea.
It's just up to them?
No, and talking to Teresa about this, she was trying to figure that out too. Normally these things, you have to prepare. You have to prepare opening statements. They start with jury selection, but you have to go through this process called voir dire, where you ask everybody questions about what biases might they have. Is there some reason why they couldn't sit and be impartial? And one of the things people don't understand about voir dire, which is French for to see, to say, which means, tell us what you got. Show your cards, basically, is you don't have to be completely and utterly ignorant of the facts or the details of the case or what's been reported. Yeah. You just have to be able to say, based on everything you've heard, if you hear something contrary in the course of this trial, can you put that aside and make a decision strictly based on what's been presented to you in this courtroom? So it's not like they have to find hermits or Rip Van Winkle or whatever.
I think people always feel that way.
Yeah, no, and
what's she charged with? What's the charge?
I don't know what the specific law is, but basically
I thought it was involuntary manslaughter, which is pretty tough bar. That's what I thought it was. I could be wrong.
It could be, but the essence of it,
there's different levels of manslaughter,
is that they provided their son the means to commit a massacre, and so that they're somehow guilty of being a part of that crime. This is
kind of like the driver.
Yeah. Well,
the driver usually knows what's going on. I thought involuntary manslaughter is maybe you should have known. There's signs there. You could have stopped a murder. Yeah, manslaughter.
In Illinois,
recklessness. Yeah.
In Illinois, there's a charge called reckless homicide, which is where you do something that if you were clear-headed, you would have known could kill somebody and did kill somebody, and so now you have to be tried for homicide. This is a little different. This is probably the first case in the country where parents have been charged for being responsible for the deaths of people killed by their child. There was a guilty plea in Illinois by the father of the guy who shot people up at the Highland Park, I think it was 4th of July parade a couple years ago. But in that case, I think what he pleaded guilty to was helping his son get a gun when his son was not allowed to.
It was a straw man purchase, wasn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not quite the same thing. But this case is unprecedented in a lot of ways, and one of which is that the actual prosecutor is involved in the prosecution, not just sitting back and directing it, but going in there and arguing in court. I mean, that's
unusual.
What's your gut?
I've never seen that.
What's your gut? You've been around the legal system and courts a long time. What's your gut?
Mainly as a defendant.
Is this going to stick?
I don't know. This is one of these cases where it's going to come down to really the quality of the legal teams. I think the prosecutor, she's a former judge, so she should know how to handle things from the perspective of the judge, but I don't know how many cases she's argued as a prosecutor. I don't know what her background was before she got elected judge. And the defense team, I think, is pretty good. The defense team, one of the defense attorneys was successful in defending a pretty major case. The other one, I don't know that much about, but one of the defense attorneys is also kind of responsible for Ethan Crumbley's parents being locked up because they were trying to get them released, and they had argued that, well, the parents, when they get free, will be in the custody of this individual who is responsible and will look after them, and we can trust them to make sure if there's a problem. And then it turned out that individual had all kinds of problems themselves, and they hadn't properly vetted this person, which is, maybe one reason why these folks are going to do 2 or 3 years in prison or in jail, regardless of whether they're convicted, which is pretty extraordinary. So we'll see what happens. And of course, the judge plays a big role in this too, because they may or may not decide to let certain evidence in. When Adam Fox and some of the other Governor Whitmer kidnap conspirators were tried, the federal judge in Grand Rapids basically limited the amount of argument that could be made that they were entrapped. And so the jury didn't hear a lot of those arguments, which may have contributed to them being convicted. So all parts in these trials, everybody plays a role. And depending on how well they do and on some of the decisions they make, strategic or legal, they could spring their client or they could condemn them to many, many years behind bars.
This is when we just need a bad parent law. Because they're terrible, terrible parents. But involuntary manslaughter is going to be really hard to prove. I mean, a lot of people, well, like you just said, they spent 2 years behind jail. So what is the appropriate time for what they really did, being bad parents?
Yeah, and where they offered a plea deal somewhere along the line where it's like, we'll let you out with time served. I don't know. And by the way, that can still happen. A case can go to the jury, and the jury can be deliberating, and one side or the other can come forward and say, you know what, let's just cut this off right here. And so it's possible we could sit through a lengthy trial, and the jurors can do their duty, and they can hear and decide and deliberate. I guess it's hear, deliberate, and decide, and have that decision taken out of their hands because they'll just be dismissed, which, I don't know, for some people that may be a relief that they don't have to judge another person. And they are asked during voir dire, are you comfortable sitting in judgment of somebody else? My answer, yes. Shawn would be, of course you are. And other people would feel like, what do we do? No, I think I'm quoting directly.
You're projecting. No,
I'm not saying that you wouldn't be comfortable being in judgment of someone. I'm saying that I would be, and you would say, of course you are.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I still object. What else? What else was on the docket today?
Well, I was going to say a little something about the New Hampshire primary, which is today. When I was a reporter in New Hampshire, I covered the 1996, which sounds like a long time ago, New Hampshire primary.
Did you like how I said docket, by the way?
Yes, it's very cute.
Very, very professional.
Would that have been Bob Dole? Was that 96? Was that Bob Dole? No, he would have been before, right?
No, Bob Dole did win. Well, Bob Dole was the nominee in 1996, trying to stop Clinton from getting a second term. But Pat Buchanan won the New Hampshire primary. And it's just amazing. People think that New Hampshire is too white, too old, too educated, and too wealthy to decide this for the rest of the country.
Okay, I always think of you when this rolls around, when New Hampshire rolls around. Why the hell are they second? It drives me nuts. Why?
After Iowa?
Yeah, I mean, you presented reasoning before, but I don't understand why New Hampshire carries so much weight. It's such a small state.
Okay, so here's where we're going to bog down the podcast.
Well, no, make it quick.
Back in like 1948, the governor was Sherman Adams, who was a Republican, and General Eisenhower was considering running for president, and people didn't know whether he was going to run as a Republican or a Democrat. And Sherman Adams, who would have been considered a rhino, helped draw Eisenhower into the Republican fold and really launched his campaign in New Hampshire and started this momentum of, we're going to have an election here, we're going to make him our nominee. And it set Eisenhower on the path to the White House. And once he became president, Sherman Adams became his chief of staff. The other thing is there was...
So wait, because one guy in 1948 decided it's always going to be first now?
Well, because here's what happens, and here's why it's not such a big deal now. Eisenhower did great. So, of course, now he wants to lock New Hampshire in for the Republicans as a decisive place because he knows he's done well there, and he knows he'll do well there for a second term, and after that, people just try and follow in those tracks. The other thing is there was a mob busting senator from Tennessee named Estes Kefauver, of all things,
Sorry, I asked.
as a Democrat who did really well
Great name.
in the New Hampshire primary. And so Democrats started gravitating that way. And so it just became, and I'm sure the Kennedys helped cement New Hampshire as a key place because Massachusetts is right across the border. People in New Hampshire call them massholes, but they still watch all the TV stations and get the Boston Globe and the Boston Herald. So it just, and the other thing for candidates, what they really like about it is there's one statewide television station. There's one newspaper that reaches the entire state.
That's
so
not
if
a
you
good
have,
thing.
if you have limited funds and you need to introduce yourself, that's the thing for a guy like Estes Kefauver, who people couldn't even spell his damn name, let alone find Tennessee on a map. He could cover the entire state and barnstorm it and meet people and develop his name and his identity in a small state.
I don't know. I think nowadays, though, technology has totally changed that. I think you can reach a lot of people in a lot of ways, a lot faster.
Well, that's the argument now is you don't have to go to a town hall meeting. You can just tune into one.
Yeah.
But the difference is, and this is why, while it's true, New Hampshire is too white, it's not very union friendly. It is older. They do have a higher education level than most of the states, and they are above the national median for family wages. Here's why they deserve this, is because when they go to a town hall, they ask you questions. They are wired to be in your face. They know that they serve a role, and they take that role seriously, which is why somebody asked Nikki Haley, what was the Civil War about? And she blew it.
I don't know how anybody gets that question wrong.
Some people get nervous getting in front of a microphone and asking questions, but people in New Hampshire appreciate that they have an opportunity to ask questions that the rest of the country will hear, and so they ask them. And of course,
It's just
there
not
are plants there too.
It's just
so.
not representative of the nation, though. That's my issue.
It isn't, but find me a state that is that you can crisscross.
Ohio?
Yeah, but you have lots of markets there. You have Cincinnati, you have Cleveland, you have Dayton, you have what else? What's another big city? Columbus. Columbus is the biggest city.
I think they have the most TV markets out of any state, more than even California. Just of how the state is shaped.
So to run for president there, you've got to start with many, many millions of dollars. They also probably tend to be a little more conservative and less union friendly, but Ohio would be a very representative state. You got urban, you got rural.
Yeah. I don't know what the demographic makeup is, but
it's probably not, when you think about Cleveland and you think about some of the other cities, they're pretty diverse. So I'm sure.
Or Pennsylvania. I mean, that would be another state that's a little more representative.
Also a massive state that crisscrossing takes forever. But you can do well in New Hampshire and then collapse. So here's why the Democrats don't like New Hampshire anymore.
Yeah, they got rid of it,
because
right?
Biden finished 5th.
Didn't they get rid of it? I don't think that's
yes. They're not recognizing it because they don't want it to be first or second with the Iowa caucuses. And this is how. So Sherman Adams, who's this obscure guy who played such a big role? Because his candidate kicked ass.
Yeah.
Biden did terribly in Iowa. Did terribly in New Hampshire. Did great, saved his bacon in South Carolina. So guess what the most important state for Democrats is now? South Carolina.
Yeah,
so
but that's just because of Jim Clyburn kind of said, this is the guy. And so then South Carolina went, all right, that's the guy. And then that
Sherman Adams to Eisenhower, to Biden's
Jim
Eisenhower.
Clyburn to.
Yeah. So he delivered for his state, and so now his state's a big deal. That's exactly what happened, like in 1948 with.
There's your history lesson for today, Sean.
Whew, if you're still with us,
you still with us, Sean?
That was interesting.
Or are you moving down the docket?
He's looking up Estes Kefauver on Wikipedia.
Look at him.
No, that was really interesting. Yeah.
So
I don't know.
Thank you, Mike. That was cool.
Is he being honest or is he being a dick? I can't tell.
I think we are seeing sincere, Sean.
I think so too.
It's a beautiful thing.
We got away from the Crumbleys, and that was great.
Yeah, because a bunch of kids getting murdered by a classmate and their
Yeah, it's a
parents
bummer.
buying them a gun don't matter. It's
just a bummer.
We just move on.
Let's move on to Sean's favorite topic.
Move on from the yucky stuff. So
how many of them there have been since that one?
Oh God.
Oh jeez. School shootings?
There's the question. Yeah.
How many this month?
Way to bring the room
I
down.
think there was just one in Illinois. I think they're not even push alerts now.
so-
You don't even get a breaking news alert now. I mean, it's
Exactly. I mean, and I hate to sound like that, but yeah,
we've been
it's-
groomed.
Anyway,
We've been groomed by the NRA. Congratulations, Wayne LaPierre, who now even the NRA doesn't like Wayne LaPierre because it turns out he may be a big ass crook.
Yeah.
So, well done. You know, the NRA, and this is one of the things that people lose sight of. It used to be strictly education. It used to be about teaching people how to hunt, how to care for
How do
their
you hunt?
weapons.
Yeah, exactly.
And it was probably a lot like Ducks Unlimited, which was about conservation and about learning, you know, how hunters can be responsible, and now it's strictly become everybody who wants a gun should have one, and everybody who doesn't want a gun should probably have one too. And I don't really care what your position on gun rights is, but there's no question that the NRA has evolved from what used to be sort of a clearinghouse and an educational institution to a straight up political advocacy group. And
here's my question. Here's my question: should Greta Gerwig have been nominated for Best Director for Barbie?
Oh boy.
'Cause,
That's right. The nominations
because
are today.
Yeah, no, the Twitter is social media is aflame.
Who was nominated,
Without-
Sean? Can you tell me that? Because I didn't even look.
I want to say that Oppenheimer was that Christopher Nolan. I
Yeah.
think he got.
God, that
I
movie's
did.
great.
I have not seen who was nominated. I just saw a lot of folks up in arms over the most popular movie of the year, and the director was snubbed. It's always interesting. But yeah.
Was it nominated for best movie?
That's a good question. I didn't even see that.
Did you see the movie?
I did. Did you?
I've only seen it about 30 times because my kids watch it over and 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 over.
How does your wife like it?
She liked it a lot. You know what? I'll say this: it's better than I thought it was going to be. And to the argument of people on Twitter, it was really well directed. It looks fun. It looks different. There's two different worlds going on, which it was represented really well. I don't know how much of that credit goes to the director. I just don't know what else it was up against. But it's not a bad movie. Yeah. I appreciated it more because my house is just overrun with Barbie everywhere on every level. It drives me up a wall. So I kind of appreciated that joke. And Julie liked it because of, she had Barbies growing up. There's a lot of retro stuff in there. But to get mad about a nomination, who cares?
So was it nominated or not nominated?
It was nominated for Best Picture.
Yep, it was nominated for Best Picture.
But there's like 10 movies nominated for Best Picture, and there's only 5 for Best Director. And honestly, the movies that are nominated for Best Director, I've only heard of 3 out of the 5. I don't even know what Anatomy of a Fall or The Zone of Interest is.
How do you have a Best Picture without a great director?
Well, there's 10. There's 10 nominees, right?
No, but I mean, if there's 10 nominees for great picture, shouldn't there also be 10 great directors out there somewhere? Or did some of these just kind of succeed despite the knucklehead
here's the
with
thing.
the clapper?
It's become a show.
Did you guys see Oppenheimer, by the way?
I did. I loved it. But I like Nolan. I like everything he does.
Yeah, it was long.
It
was long.
That's your review,
and didn't deal with one of the more important stories of that era. And what happened to the folks where they built, and all the folks that were displaced, and the generations of radiation poisoning?
Oh my God,
right?
Sean! That's not what it was about.
But that's part of the story, that they go build this place, and the consequences of that decision were pretty major for
get out of here.
Thousands and thousands of people. No, it's part of the deal.
No,
it's
the movie.
Part of history.
No, the movie is called Oppenheimer. It's about Oppenheimer, the man.
Right, and what he led had severe consequences for lots of people,
and it's how it affected him, and he regretted
the fact that it was swept under the rug for so long is pretty American.
That's a different movie.
To be honest with you.
And
the fact that he didn't acknowledge that or deal with that at all, I felt it through the whole movie.
Really?
He probably was just bombed on those big martinis.
Yeah. If you can find 3 hours if you can make a movie 3 hours and you can't deal was some of the more thorny issues of that decision and those decisions, and testing, and what that does to the people that are not completely out of the picture, so to speak.
Yeah, but I think it was supposed to be through the eyes of Oppenheimer himself and how it affected him and his life and how he got to that point. And, they spent a lot of time in his relationships and then, what happened in Congress.
I understand it's a biopic for sure.
Or is it a biopic?
Now, speaking of long movies, Shawn, have you seen Killers of the Flower Moon?
No.
Holy shit, is that a long movie? It's like 3.5 hours. It took me 4 days to watch it because it's on Apple TV Plus now. It's really good.
Is it any good?
But it's one of those things. I liked it. I think the story is fascinating. It's a true story.
The guy wrote the book. Is it David Gran?
I think so. Yeah, he's written a lot of.
Yeah, he's really good.
It's one chapter too long. If you've read it.
Oh,
I don't want to spoil the ending. The Indians die, but he ends the book, and it's a fantastic book. The last part of the book is he decides to go and hang out with the Osage Indians or Osage people and learn how to dance and appreciate their culture. So you read about this amazing story, and he tries to build it into not only is this conspiracy to kill these Native Americans and steal their oil rights, but it's also the beginning of the FBI, which may or may not be fair, may or may not be a stretch, but it's interesting because this is the FBI's first, real great case.
Murder case.
Yeah. And
I think they had other cases, but murder.
Yeah, maybe they bank robbery and stuff. Yeah. But this is, and it also established how they would work with forensics and things like that. Two great stories. As a double-barreled plot line, it's fantastic. And the people, real people, who stole this from the Osage were not only diabolical and methodical, but the author uncovered some things that even the FBI didn't uncover at the time. Mm-hmm. But then he ends it with, here I am dancing and smoke 'em peace pipe and all this other shit. Like, dude, you had a great book. Get the hell out. And I'm sure the movie doesn't fart around with that.
No.
That's an easy cut.
There's about an hour I would have cut out of the movie. I felt it dragged a little bit. And I would have liked.
How does it compare to, remember what's the great movie? It was great at the time.
Oh, by the way,
with Val Kilmer, Sam Shepard, Graham Greene, Thunderheart.
They never address Robert De Niro's role in nuclear testing either. He's against it.
Is he?
It's just. But here's the Oppenheimer movie I want to see that I think would satisfy Shawn. Oppenheimer indirectly, or perhaps directly, this is yet to be determined, killed John Wayne.
It's just Chris. You had a Brit making a movie here, and look, I don't know. I don't know if that.
This is true, Shawn. Dick Powell, who was one of the great band singers and radio dramatists and film noir and Western artists, he formed a film production company with David Niven and Ida Lupino and somebody else. I can't remember who the fourth person was. Incredibly talented dude from Pittsburgh. Directed a movie called Genghis Khan, starring, believe it or not, John Wayne as Genghis Khan, because everybody knows that the Mongols were 6'6" and spoke with a drawl. And almost everybody who was in that movie, cast, crew, major stars, died of lung cancer. And it was filmed on one of the nuclear test sites out west. So there's the story that I want to read that takes Oppenheimer into the consequences of this testing. These guys, they breathe the dust because, of course, it's all about, storming the steps and kicking up dust. All this dust that got kicked up was no doubt laden with carcinogens. So Oppenheimer killed John Wayne. This is true. This is a true story.
It reminds me of, for some reason, Paul Mooney used to do those bits on Dave Chappelle, and he was talking about, and he played.
You can't say what he says. Don't quote him directly. No. Do not quote him directly.
But I remember him making.
Everybody wants to be but nobody wants to be an.
I'm not. No. That was great. Yeah. But no, I'm saying. He played a movie critic at one point, and he was talking about Tom Cruise playing a samurai. And Hollywood had a run there, right, where they were not bothering to try to get anybody who
Keanu
was
Reeves
in any way to play a certain role. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That was that always just stuck with me. That Paul Mooney bit on that.
The other thing about Genghis Khan, one of the worst movies ever made, by the way. So,
Time for a remake.
They died and it didn't kill. So that's the worst of all things. So
do we go see movies anymore? That's
not
the
as
question,
much.
right?
No, God no.
I go see them when I'm visiting my in-laws because my in-laws are not at the theater.
I mean, like everybody's talking about True Detective right now, or the last season of Fargo that just ended.
Oh, so good.
Whatever.
Fargo.
Oh, it's great. But that's the thing. That's the water cooler talk you hear. It's more television, right?
Here's what's funny, Sean. I would much prefer to watch episodic television than a 3.5 hour movie, which is really just like 4 episodes of a TV show. I don't know why.
Which you'll happily sit and binge, right, on a Friday or Saturday night.
You know what? I'm unlike a lot of people. I don't want to binge. I have no problem waiting week to week to see the new episode.
But if it's something that's old, would you, and you stumble across it and it's all out, do you ever binge?
No, I can't sit and watch TV that long unless it's for a sporting event.
See, I'm terrible. Not only will I binge watch a show, but then I'll find podcasts about it or YouTube analysis of it, and I will listen to it.
I do the same.
And I may have mentioned on this show a couple weeks ago, Foundation.
Yeah.
Too convoluted. Don't bother with it. Love it. My favorite show. I've watched every episode multiple times now because it's so well crafted that when you listen to the podcast and they talk about this, like, oh, wait a minute, that's why. And you go back and you watch, like, they just planted a seed, and 3 episodes later, it's going. And just the as someone who aspires to write fiction but will never be able to do it because I don't have the imagination, the discipline, but the structurally how they put it together, the craftsmanship is really, really impressive. And then when you go and you see the real Asimovians who are like, this departs from Isaac Asimov's real foundation and what the differences are, and the debate starts.
Oh my God, what a nerd.
It's pretty good. I mean, it's a good way to kill time on a long drive.
Now, Sean, you mentioned 2 shows.
Do you real quickly, do you do this? We were talking about Fargo, right? Mm-hmm. We just finished watching Fargo. I went back and watched the first season, which I hadn't seen in years.
That's Billy Bob Thornton, right?
Yeah, and Martin Freeman.
Yeah.
That's one of the shows that I would go back and watch a season of. I typically won't go back and watch shows, but you mentioned 2 shows that strike of a lot of emotion to me because I still think Fargo is my favorite TV show of all time.
It's incredible.
I love everything about it.
The first 2 seasons.
I like season 3. And I thought season 5 was
not as much. 5 is great.
5 is great. 4 is the worst, but it's still really good with Chris Rock. But
John Hamm is
phenomenal. He's so good.
Oh.
But then you mentioned True Detective, and I like the first season of True Detective, and I don't think I get it anymore. I don't know what it is about this new season, the second season, where it's just I don't know why do people love True Detective so much?
I don't know that they did love the second season, or they came back a little bit for the third season. I didn't see the third season.
That's the one that just started.
I'm enjoying this season now, mostly because of Kaylee. Is it Kaylee Reese?
Yeah,
Kaylee Reese.
But the story's stupid.
She's mesmerizing to watch.
But so far, the story's really dumb. Don't you think?
I've only seen the first episode.
So I got a non sequitur, but somewhat tangentially connected to True Detective. I used to date this woman when I lived in New Hampshire, and she went for a job interview at the Chicago Tribune.
Back in New Hampshire.
And it all comes back to first in the nation. It is primary day. And she was on a job interview at the Chicago Tribune, and she was waiting to get called in for the job interview, and there was somebody sitting on a bench next to her, another woman, and she didn't pay her any mind and didn't think much of it at all. And she gets called in for the interview, and when she goes in for the interview, the person who's talking to her is like, hey, Jodie Foster's here. And they're like, oh my God, I'd love to meet Jodie Foster. She's like, well, you just sit next to her.
Oh, wow.
I guess when she's not made up, she doesn't quite move the needle. But I was like, wow.
Yeah, she doesn't do much for me.
I hope you didn't tell them that. Well, I guess that's the difference between you and what's his nuts, John.
Hinckley?
Hinckley, yeah, Jr.
John Hinckley.
I'm glad there's something that distinguishes the two of you. Yeah. Jeez.
I know, because we probably have a lot.
I like Jodie Foster, and I like her character. It's an interesting character in this latest True Detective. I mean, she's very crabby. I would think you would like that, Mark.
I am crabby. I don't want to see crabby people on my TV.
Mark lives with three women. He gets all the crabby he needs.
Hey,
in real time. I'm just assuming that your three women are like my three women.
I'm probably the crabbiest.
Maybe they're not.
What is this? The Benny Hill show? All of a sudden, did we just go back to the 70s?
No, this is my way of checking to see if the women in my house listen to the podcast. If someone's like, "Who's crabby?" then I know they're listening. If not, I just got cheated out of 3 downloads.
Oh no, they listen.
So you live with three gals too. So I guess I could say
we call them women now, Benny. Going back to the 70s.
So you think that all women are crabby and crusty and crispy?
Tres
and all
chicas. That? No, I think women can be crabby in the same way that men can be grouchy, and women can be grouchy in the way that men can be crabby. Because I see everybody the same.
Good.
As crabby or grouchy. That's pretty much it.
Or in your way. Or not in your way.
No. I need people in my way so I can climb over them on my ascent to the top.
Can they help
Their backs
you
are like
not?
steps.
Can they help you or not?
As I ascend the Machu Picchu of my life. Not into the Incans or the Mayans.
And then you get up there and you see the civilization. That's nice.
That bell reminds us that it's time to mention our ever-present fourth guest on the show. That would be Kwame Kilpatrick.
He just won't go away, will he?
No. Well, in fact, we'd done set him up for a comeback. We just didn't know the comeback would be in Novi. As Steve Neveling of the Metro Times reported this weekend, Kwame Kilpatrick, in the name of his wife, Letitia Kilpatrick, has purchased a home in Novi worth more than $800,000. Now, it turns out they didn't purchase the house directly. They purchased it in the name of an LLC called Pathfinder Consulting Firm LLC, which originally was incorporated or lists its home address as Griffin, Georgia. But as you're about to see, those of you on Patreon and who there's still time, by the way, to sign up for Patreon and get our video version of this episode and all subsequent video episodes, have relocated to Warren, Michigan. And here's what happened when I went to go find that headquarters to knock on the door. Hi, I'm ML Elric, the on-guard columnist at the Detroit Free Press, and today we're checking out the headquarters of Pathfinder Consulting Firm, LLC, which is the company that Kwame Kilpatrick's wife used to buy a house in Novi. Turns out they're based here in Warren. That's a little weird.
Got the post office.
It looks like a post office. Says here that it's suite number 1533.
Sweet.
Let's take a look and see what we can find. Self-produced video, by the way. Just
looks great.
5-tool player right here. Print broadcast.
I mean, I could have edited the whistling out.
Wait, are you whistling?
This is original
really
composition. That's the right address. 284.
You're really whistling.
See what's inside.
You should have been nominated. That's great cinematography.
There's my 5 head. Yeah.
Oh, now you're humming. Oh my goodness.
I mean, the sound isn't going to get nominated, but
Suite 15. This is Nat Sound. Let's see. I'm creating an oral fabric. Hey. There it is. Kind of small for a big mayor, his wife, and their growing family, but let's see if they're home. It's a post office box.
He's knocking on the post office box.
Mayor Kilpatrick. Hello.
Okay, that is.
Looks like nobody's home. We'll have to try again later.
You got me with that one.
There you go. Funny. Nothing like a big shit-eating grin at the end for the...
Nice saying sweet when it's just a P.O. box. What a
knocking.
Knocking. What a joke.
But when you look at it, and I'll hold this up for folks, it says right here. Okay, we're in reverse. It says the address is number 1533. And I know Warren and I know Mound, and there's lots of little office complexes. There's lots of places where there's like a shared workspace, or you go into a plaza and there's a UPS store. There's Just Donuts or whatever, and then there's a real estate office, and then there'll be a little suite. And I thought, well, Pathfinder Consulting Firm. It's a firm. It's not just an LLC. They must have at least a desk.
Wait, does that mean something different? Firm over LLC? I mean,
no. I mean, you could call it.
You can call anything a firm.
Worldwide Pants, and
Yeah.
They're not worldwide and they don't sell pants.
Have you looked at the LLC filing? Can you see like what they claim they do, or is consulting one of the choices you can make when you create an LLC?
Yeah, I mean, I'll have to look that up through the Georgia corporation records. But if they're anything like Michigan, you don't really have to say even what your business does. So
yeah, but you have to pick a category though, right? When you file, I thought you did.
No, I mean it depends on the state, and usually I think the biggest designation you make is whether it's profit or nonprofit. But you don't have to say who the shareholders are. You don't have to say.
Well, that I knew. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, didn't Neveling's story claim? I thought it was Neveling's story that he had multiple, like Kwame has multiple LLCs.
That his wife does.
His wife does.
Yeah, that there may be 4 of them that they incorporate, or maybe they incorporated them together. But this is, and based on my reporting, it looks like they put a down payment down of somewhere around $150,000 or $200,000. So here's a guy who hasn't made restitution, who says he doesn't have any money, or at least doesn't owe any money. And somehow they together come up with 6 figures to put a down payment on a massive house in Novi. And it's just galling. It just is really.
Is it going to bite him in the ass because they're married? I mean, shouldn't you have bought this when they weren't married? Although he might have to gift the money and then pay taxes on that, or I don't know.
So Neveling reported, he quoted a former U.S. attorney who said, they're going to go after this and they're going to be able to garnish this or put a lien on it. I don't know if that's true. In different states, spousal assets are treated differently. Get ready, Shawn. When I was in New Hampshire, I did a story about the New Hampshire Republican Party chairman who was basically broke because he'd made some bad business decisions. And he'd run into some tough economic times. He was a pretty sharp guy, but he hit some stumbles and he didn't come through them very well. But he still lived in a big house, drove a nice car. The family made generous contributions to cultural institutions in the state because it was all in the name of his wife, who was a very successful lawyer. So he was able to keep his creditors somewhat at bay because most of their assets were in the wife's name. Now, that's New Hampshire. I don't know what the laws are like here in Michigan. And in Florida, people wonder why Steve Wilson stayed in Florida. Well, one reason why is because he had a judgment against him. And in Florida, if you lose a judgment, one thing they can't take away from you is your domicile, the home where you reside.
Isn't that why OJ moved there?
It may be.
I think that was a big part of it.
It may be, although if he had a judgment against him before he bought his place in Florida, I think they'd say, nice try, but you should have done that.
Or maybe it's because they couldn't touch his NFL pension. That might have been part of it too.
Yeah, different states have. I mean, the point is, different states have different rules. But I do think this is a situation where Kilpatrick may have outsmarted himself because he's shown that his family has considerable assets, and I don't know what his wife does, but right around the time. Well, yeah, she's come on. Or if she worked with Bobby Ferguson, she's a consultant. But if they. I mean, at the time they were known to be a couple. The only thing I knew that she did was she ran like a yoga class at Chandler Park out in the open, which does not seem like a very lucrative endeavor. But maybe that was her hobby. I'm not sure. But to be able to afford nearly $1 million house, you got to have some serious cake. And there must have been some serious earnings for them to get a mortgage on that because they're going to want to look at work records. His labor history is what? He made 37 cents an hour in the cafeteria at some federal penitentiary. So I don't know how they qualified for this mortgage, but there's more to this story, and we will be digging into it. So keep an eye on the Free Press, where you'll find all of Shawn's work coming from San Francisco. You'll find about what Frank Ragnow does when he's got insomnia. You'll find out what's going on with Kwame Kilpatrick and more.
Oh man, the geeks have inherited the earth.
Did I do that?
What a dork.
Does him wanting to play with us again mean that he's turning into a geek, or we're turning into cool guys?
So as Shawn pointed out earlier, I got LASIK 15 years ago, and I have amazing 2015 far vision, which is better than 20/20 vision, which is considered perfect, but I still need glasses to read because I'm in that zone in the 50s where my near vision has gone to the point where unless I have my flashlight on my phone out, I have trouble reading menus.
Oh my God, yeah.
Unless I have a well-lit room like this, I need to have glasses. And as you can see, if you're watching us on Patreon, I have my glass on because it's not that well lit. It's kind of dank down here in the Red Shovel dungeon. But this happens to everybody because your eyes age. And so you rely on these glasses and then you get frustrated. The great news is that Dr. Yaldo has the perfect answer. It's bifocal implants. These lenses are a revelation. Precise vision up close and far away that won't change for the rest of your life. You'll see the small stuff on your phone again, and for the rest of your life, no new prescriptions, no glasses, no contacts, or reading glasses. You can throw them all right in the trash. This is life-changing. Get a free evaluation. Let Dr. Yaldo explain it, demonstrate it, and in 2024 and for the rest of your life, see more clearly than you ever have before. You can reach Dr. Yaldo at 800-308-EYES. That's 800-308-EYES or at the YaldoEyeCenter.com. And when you go, tell Dr. Yaldo that ML sent you. We also want to thank our sponsors at Zott Ford. We're beyond excited to announce that after a long hiatus, our good friends at Zott Ford and Holly are back on the podcast and ready to make automotive magic for every one of you out there listening or watching. That's because Steve Gabar and the gang at Zott Ford take pride in making buying and leasing simple, fun, fast, easy, and affordable. Speaking of affordable, go lease a new 23 Ford Escape or 24 Ford Edge under $200 a month. You heard that right, under $200 a month. How about leasing a new 23 Ford Bronco Sport, Explorer F-150 Super Cab around $300 a month? I hope Teresa's not listening because she's going to want to go get that Bronco Sport. Plus, Zott Ford has 0% financing and rebates that can put up to $10,000 in your pocket. To top it off, Gabar bought like 100 boxes of Girl Scout cookies from Fellhauer's daughter, Charlotte.
Very nice. How many did you buy?
I need to buy some today. What kind did Gabar buy, actually? Maybe I'll hit him up.
All kinds. Okay. All kinds. Shawn, did you buy any?
No.
Why do you hate my daughter?
I don't.
Well, at least our advertiser likes her.
Yeah. So, and you can use that. You can use that. That's a F-150 Super Cab to carry around all those cases of Girl Scout cookies.
Need to, yeah.
And maybe Marc will make a personal delivery when you visit Zott Ford and Holly.
Sure.
And you can get a new box of cookies, a free box of cookies with your new wheels. See details on their delicious inventory at dealsinthed.com. And of course, when you go, tell Gabar that ML sent you, because I know Drew sends people there, but let them know that your friend ML has a little juice out there too.
Yeah, and if you go to our website at the very top, you'll see a little sponsors link. So all of them are on there with the websites.
Yes, Marc has tweaked our website, so it's easy for you to find our sponsors.
Not the greatest website.
And connect from us. Well, it's
crazy.
It's just as God made it, sir. If you're looking about your money, you should be thinking about your money.
Oh, yeah.
Because if you're not planning ahead, you will work until the day you die. Nobody wants to do that. Reach out to our friend Luke and Zach at Pinnacle Wealth Strategies.
Yeah, it is January, right? So that's when everybody keeps talking about, I'll do it next year. I'm going to do it next year.
I'll do it February 29th.
Well,
this year you do have to do it.
Exactly. And so, yeah, leap year, and next year is now. So once again, like ML said, keep your head up, be prepared. If you want some help managing your assets, give Luke and Zach at Pinnacle Wealth a call, 248-663-4748. Free consultation. Tell you bonds, you want equities, where to put your money based on your age, all that fun stuff. So give Luke and Zach a call, Pinnacle Wealth, 248-663-4748.
Because when you call Luke and Zach, they'll make it all about you, sweetheart.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc. member FINRA-SIPC.
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc. is separately owned, and other entities and or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent.
Mosaic Wealth.
Inc.
So this week's Geek, I got to give a shout out to Charlie Ramirez at the Detroit News, who reported on a woman who got pulled over in Detroit on New Year's Eve and declared herself a sovereign citizen.
I love it when people declare themselves sovereign citizens.
And refused to obey police. So Michigan State troopers were on patrol about 10 p.m. Sunday on I-94.
What an asshole.
They pulled over a vehicle, and they thought this woman might be drunk. So the 54-year-old Macomb Township woman gets out of the vehicle, but refused, claiming to be a sovereign. Oh, no, they tell her to get out of the video. And Charlie reports that she refused claiming to be a sovereign citizen.
Beautiful.
After multiple attempts to get the woman to exit the vehicle, troopers broke the side window and opened the vehicle door. They struggled with her, eventually took her into custody. No injuries were reported. They had to get a warrant to test her blood for alcohol, and she had yet to be charged as of January 2nd when this was reported, but they're not releasing her name anyways, which is probably good, because we don't want to get in trouble with someone who, even if we sued her, would probably just claim diplomatic immunity. So there's your sovereign driver. And, you know, when you cover the New Hampshire, here, get the bell ready. We need a new bell. Maybe we get a cow. No, that'd be Vermont. But in the New Hampshire primary, when I was there, and I think it's probably still true, all it takes to get on the ballot is you spend $1,000. And so you would have people from all over the country running for president and getting on the primary ballot. And there's a guy there who runs every time called Vermin Supreme. Oh, God. And when I was there's a guy who called himself Love 22. And he loved the number 22. So he had dollar bills made up, $22 bills made up with his name on it and his face on it. And he would come into the press room and he would take these $22 bills and fold them. And no matter how he folded them, they had a 22 showing. It didn't really make sense. It wasn't really origami. It was just this weird thing, but he would do it for you. And then he'd look at you like, okay, yeah. Oh, and you're like,
Lord.
I'm really busy. I got to get going. Vermin Supreme's coming in a minute, you know. So, but it's a crazy place. And you would have people like this who, the sovereign people, there'd always be a guy walking around the State House with a big briefcase. And whenever he'd pull it out, it would have like a 4-inch thick document that was typed like on a manual typewriter that explained shit like the Trilateral Commission and Opus Day.
Time?
Oh, and it was, you know, and they're very serious, and their clothes always looked a little kind of
Therefore, instead of the bid bell, I think your new sounder for New Hampshire is just going to be. Does that work?
That sounds about right. So that's your Geek of the Week, Sovereign Nation people.
There's an all-night party in room 7609. And you can dance together all night if you've got the time.
God, I was so excited as we were talking. Venmo just popped up and I thought, oh, we got a donation. It was my kid paying me $50 she owes me, so you can still donate.
Why'd she owe you $50?
We went to the mall after Christmas and she got a few things and I put them on my credit card. So
well, can't you just say, don't worry about it?
I did buy her one thing, but I didn't buy everything they picked out. So
all right.
you know, these kids got to work. They got to earn it. But we have a Room 7609 suggestion from a listener who wants to honor his father by suggesting we play New Order, Dawn Fades. We'll tell you more about why on the back end of this New Order classic, which sounds a lot like a Joy Division classic, but it's same band, really.
Make us
Thank you. Thank you very much. This is a suggestion to Room 7609 from Michael, who sent it to mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com, where we accept your suggestions and your correspondence. Michael says, hey, guys, love the show and listen every week since you started. Well, that's pretty good. That's over 4 years, 240-something episodes, I think. I'd like to recommend New Dawn Fades by Joy Division. I think I just said Dawn Fade, sorry. Particularly the live track of their record, Still. The year my old man died, I was looking for something to watch before Darlene Love's annual appearance on Letterman's show. We'd watch every year when he was around. He loved Christmas and put on 24-hour Party People right at the part where they signed Joy Division to Factory Records. I was fascinated. The next day, I checked out Joy Division's greatest hits from the library. I put it in my car's CD player and just drove around and was instantly hooked. I feel like Casey Kasem here. I proceeded to get all the records as we... Does anybody remember the Casey Kasem
on
ads?
distance dedications?
For Wayne State.
No, I know that's where he went.
He went to Wayne State, but they ran ads. This was in the late 80s, early 90s, and they talked about famous grads. Say, Case, and you say, this is Casey Kasem. This, all right. Maybe he didn't say it was Casey Kasem, but it was clear as Casey Kasem. He'd just come in and go, Wayne State, great school, in that Kasem voice. But
bullshit.
You gotta do a fucking dog dies? A dog?
What the fuck am I doing?
Such a great voice.
Two, you know, and they say at 2 a.m. He said, we're on at 2 a.m.
Fuck it.
Okay, sorry, Michael.
This is fucking ponderous, man.
Ponderous.
Fucking ponderous.
So Michael proceeded to get all the Joy Division records as well as New Order, and it helped get me through that season and more. An engagement that was called off by the woman I was engaged to. It said, damn, boy. I particularly love the live version because you can hear how powerful they were, and Ian's vocals are just fantastic. So I do apologize. I said it was by New Order. It was by Joy Division. So that's why it sounds so much like Joy Division. It is, in fact, Joy Division, which, as you know, without Ian Curtis, they continued as New Order. And early on in New Order's career, they sounded very much more like Joy Division than the synth, dance, poppy, Blue Monday version of New Order that most people know. Mike says, love the show, ML, Shawn, and Marc's banter together. Thank you, Mike. Sorry about the loss of your dad. When my grandpa died, who was like a dad to me, I watched Kingpin over and over again. And I'll tell you what, man, not just a great movie. Woody's terrific, the Farrelly brothers, Bill Murray, you put it all together. But sometimes you get a movie, Randy Quaid, when you get a movie or music like that helps get you through a difficult time, that's some of the best therapy and free. Mm-hmm. So, and that was on
Shawn?
That was on video cassette.
There's Shawn's cam right now. I don't know where he went. I don't know when he left.
I think
he's not there.
I think he's researching that whole bidet issue. This is Room 7609.
I'm worried about him.
Is when he takes his pause for poise. So this is the part of the show where we invite you to donate, and you can still donate. Marc, how do people donate the old-fashioned way?
Through our website, right? It's mlsoulofdetroit.com, and once again, in that top menu bar, you'll see there's a Patreon link if you want to sign up. We talked a lot about that.
Tell about that in a minute.
There's one for Venmo, and there's also one for PayPal. So your choice, however you want to give us your money, we'll take it. It goes to a great cause.
If you want to be, indeed, if you want to be a one-time donor, we appreciate those as well. If there's an episode you especially liked and you just want to send a few cents along, we'll take it. But the Patreon model is what's going to sustain the show. That's where you decide to make a commitment to us. Like, we come back every week and you're with us once a month for $5. This is the please let us get what we want level. You get the ad-free podcast. You know, we'll promote our sponsors, but you won't get the insertion ads that everybody else gets. You'll get the video version of the podcast. That's $5 a month. $15 a month. That's the Big Mouth Strikes Again level. Bonus episode once a month, which we will be recording shortly, and we'll be posting that later this month. There's still time to get in and get our very first bonus episode.
Shit.
Well, I think it's going to be pretty good, actually, Casey. You'll also get the ad-free content, ad-free videos. You get the bonus episode. $25 a month. That's work is a 4-letter word. We don't really want to work. It is a 4-letter word. That gets you everything that all the other levels get you, plus an autographed copy of the Kwame Sutra, Musings on Lust, Life, and Leadership from Detroit Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick. $60. We have yet to get a $60 a month donor. That's the Handsome Devils level. You get a members-only shirt, not a jacket. It's a shirt. That's just for members, for Handsome Devil members, designed exclusively for Patreon subscribers, and you get the book and the ad-free and all that other good stuff. And there is an opportunity to make up your own level. Now, if you want to come and sit in on an episode of the show, maybe Shawn will make some gourmet dinner for you, something like that, put some big-ass number in there. We will reach you directly and find out what it is that you need to make your life a dream. So that's how you can support the show, and we appreciate everybody. We have some new Patreon members. John signed on, Marc Granowski, and, of course, DJ Weiser, who's been catching up on all our shows.
I know. I kind of want to have him on the show just to hear a recap of the whole show since he's listened to episode 1 to now.
Well, since it's kind of fresh in his mind, maybe for episode 250, DJ, we're giving you some homework here. Maybe
you won't hear this, though, for a few weeks.
Well, yeah, but I mean, we're getting up to it. Maybe that'll get him caught up and he can start taking notes. And I don't know. Let's reach out to D. We got his email address, so we'll reach out.
Sean's back.
Shawn is back for the feedback.
And he's talking and we can't hear him. It's great.
It's the best way. And those of you on video can read his lips.
Did somebody say 250?
He said, I just tinkled. So, he spent a penny.
It's been that long, really, eh?
That's not a Patreon level.
I know. It feels more like 250,000.
Yeah, we're coming up on 250.
Did we like the song? How was the song? Did it just finish?
Finished like 10 minutes ago. Where were you?
It was a very moving tribute to somebody's deceased father, so be careful about what you say next.
And then
I liked the start of it, but I had to, I had to use the restroom.
And then I saw you walk back into the room, and then you would left again before you came back.
Because I took some Tylenol right when I came out of the bathroom, and one was lodged, so I went back to get some more water.
Oh, okay. You all right?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay.
I don't feel great, but I'm all right. I'm glad, it's good to be here with you guys, but I'm glad I'm not infecting you all in the studio.
It's good to know that all your pipes are constricted. Okay, we're just going to move on to Benjamin, who says, hello, ML. I'm a big fan of the show. As I'm sure you're aware, Teresa Baldes is coming out with an article on the Al Sabatka situation.
Yes.
I'm very aware.
Good article.
Because I was going to do that as a column, and then Teresa went ahead and did it as a story. But she did a very fine job, and we'll have a link to it on our website, which is mlsoulofdetroit.com. And he says, it would be great to hear you and the Soul team discuss on your next show. Just a suggestion, keep on keeping on, B-Dub. We were hoping to have Al and his attorney on today's show, but they declined because their case is at a very sensitive point in the legal process. But as soon as that clears that hurdle and they are comfortable, we will have Al Sabatka and his attorney, Deb Gordon, back on the show. But Marc, did you see that story about Al?
Oh yeah, I read the whole thing.
Yeah. What struck you the most about it?
Well, I mean, the big takeaway, first of all, is that he texted Chris Ilitch and got zero response. Now, I'm sure he's doing that because he had 10 lawyers say, don't respond to him, blah, 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 blah. But still, I think it's wrong. I think you can respond in a way that is caring about this person, but doesn't, jeopardize your organization, legally. But I got to tell you, the other thing that really stood out, because there's pictures in the Free Press, and there's a still picture of the incident where the employee saw him peeing. And I am astonished, even more so now than I was back when the story broke, that person was so affected by what he saw from that angle and that distance. Because he is in a different room, seemingly far away, and something's just not sitting right. Like, that person was that appalled that Al Sabatka was urinating out in the open.
Now, you played football. Shawn, you played a lot of basketball. And maybe it's different for those sports, but I will tell you, if you've ever been in a hockey locker room, the only place you will not find piss is in the toilet. I don't know if people who play hockey get into some kind of contest where they try and find out, who can urinate in the most bizarre place or not, but somebody at a hockey rink failing to use a urinal Or like in Kingpin, Randy Quaid failing to use a urinal properly.
He was peeing on snow, right? The ice.
Yeah, this is the ice that's scraped off of the. It's dumped out of the Zamboni. For people who don't know how Zamboni works,
Which fun fact, by the way, ice makes urine not smell. Did you know that?
I did not know that. Is that why they always have it in bars? In the urinals?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
It's a deodorizer of sorts.
That's fantastic because.
Bloop.
Well, no, that's news we can use.
I'm sure Al knew that.
Well, the other thing is the way a Zamboni works is it pours warm water onto ice, which freezes cracks, and they scrape the snow and everything off. And at the end of it, that big thing in the front of the Zamboni, it's just holding snow. So you dump that. Ice that you skate on in a rink has something in it called whitening. So when you're coaching hockey and little kids are eating the snow, you say, don't eat the snow. Yeah. There's a chemical in that. So it's not like he pissed on a snow pile that somebody's going to make a snow cone out of. Anybody with any sense knows don't eat it. And anybody who's ever listened to Frank Zappa knows you don't go where the sled dogs go and you don't eat that yellow snow. So this was no danger to anybody.
I don't know. Something stinks about the whole case.
Well, when I read
he's
the
not
story,
written up. It's not. There's nothing in his personnel file. He just had a review.
A glowing review.
Yeah.
A glowing review. Sean, did you see Teresa's piece on Al Sabatka?
I have not.
You know, she reads all your stuff.
No, I read her stuff. I just haven't seen that piece.
Can you just lie?
I hope she's not listening. You're about to find out how crabby the women in my house can get, Sean. But when I read it, it did feel like there's something else going on here, and I don't know what it is. But Al is driving a Zamboni again at the University of Liggett ice rink on the east side. But he's traumatized by this. This is a job he loved. This was his identity in a lot of ways. And one of the things he talked about.
Yeah, it's not just. It seemed like it wasn't just about the money or the job. It was having a job or the money. It was about what that job was and what it meant to him. Yeah,
and he was really, other than now Steve Yzerman, their last tie to the great Red Wings eras. So it's like getting rid of Herbie Redmond at the Detroit Tigers. How would you get rid of a guy who isn't a part of the team but is you remember Herbie Redmond? Anybody else remember Herbie?
No.
Herbie was the groundskeeper that when they would sweep the field in the fifth, he'd always walk around tipping his cap in the air, and everybody loved him. He was an older gentleman. Just he was. It was like the singing hot dog guy. A lot of people.
Or the Brow. Do you remember
the Brow? I do remember the Brow. Although Brow, he took on a lot of. He seemed to be a lightning rod. A lot of people got mad at him, and he just kind of like wave it on.
How could you get mad at that guy?
I think if it wasn't for that little golf cap, that Brow would have gone all the way. He would have been like a pompadour.
He had props.
Yeah, he was feisty. So anyways, we hope to have Al on soon, but Benjamin, we also read that and said there's more to this. Brian writes in and says, ML, I've heard you speak time and again about how you've investigated the facts and fiction of the Manoogian Mansion party and all the drama that surrounded it. I know you and Charlie have stated that it never happened. The point, I think, where things may get a little tilted is I don't think it was at the Manoogian. During that time period, there were sex parties being regularly held at different mansions in the Jefferson-Chalmers area of town, also on the east side. They have now been demolished and redeveloped, but at one time there were old 20s and 30s era mansions on the island portion of Keelson Drive. One such mansion regularly held sex parties. My ex-wife and I attended one such party and was well known by Detroit police as many of them attended these parties and sometimes raided them to make their vice teams look good. So this would have been a sex party that was well known to Kwame, being the kind of man of exquisite passion he is, wink, and his executive protection unit.
Except, why would Carlita be there? Right? If she didn't approve of it, which it didn't sound like she approved of what she, the way the story goes, she walked in on it happening.
Yeah.
So why would she be at this party if she didn't approve of that kind of stuff happening?
And the other thing about the Manoogian Mansion party rumor is that the house was being renovated. It was basically empty, and so it was just a boys' night out.
Yeah.
So, but if there was now the one thing we did hear from neighbors when Schaefer and I knocked on all these doors was there were lots of parties at the Manoogian.
I remember you telling us that before.
Just not that
one.
This party.
Yeah.
So
somebody had a party?
Yes. David Zeman, our friend who retired. That's last time I saw Shawn spreading viruses like a old AOL disc that was mailed to your home. 5 hours free internet. Brian may have anticipated your question here, Mark.
Oh, good.
It was at this party that the mayor could have easily been tracked down by his wife and confronted after gaining entrance to the party. Not hard to do. She simply paid at the door and is now that's where it falls apart because I don't remember Kilpatrick I don't remember Kilpatrick and his wife paying for anything. Even when they had the cops watching over the dress shop in Birmingham where they were trying to save the parking spot for her. They're trying to save quarters. And here's the other thing people forgot. When his wife wanted the pool deck and other parts renovated at the Manoogian Mansion, the city's official residence for the mayor, they used money from the city's recreation fund to do it. So they actually took money and opportunity away from children. People forget this stuff. Anyways, it's also fairly close, I believe, to where Strawberry ended up at the gas station or wherever it was looking for help after she fled the party. You may have already looked into this lead back then. Hate hearing about it before and just hate hearing about it being false because there was no party at the Manoogian when it could have easily and most likely been this place very nearby. Keep up the good work, Brian. Brian, I'm going to be sending you an email because I want to know more about that party you were at. That sounds like it might be worth a whole damn episode of the show.
I also go back to the fact that, I mean, you would have loved to have broken that story. Charlie would have loved to have broken that story. And Mike Cox investigated it. Wouldn't he have loved? No? Okay, maybe not.
I don't think Mike Cox would have wanted to. I mean, Mike Cox and Mike Duggan and Kwame Kilpatrick. I don't think Cox and Kilpatrick were tight, but Duggan and Kilpatrick are very tight. And we've even heard We've even heard Duggan say recently that he wishes only the best for Kilpatrick. He believes in him, and
I don't think Duggan would have. You don't buy Mike Cox's investigation? I mean, wasn't he the Attorney General at the time?
Well, Cox found there was no Manoogian Mansion party, and I believe that. But I also believe a phone call from Mike Duggan to Mike Cox saying, this might not be the best use of everybody's time, would have been very influential on the Attorney General. Oh, absolutely they are.
They are? Okay.
They're both Catholic Central guys, and I know that sounds kind of cliquey, but there really is a big Catholic Central mob in the same way there is a Cass Tech Mafia. Mike Cox worked for Mike Duggan when Mike Duggan was Wayne County prosecutor. In fact,
that's right. I do. Okay.
I didn't know who Mike Cox was, but I was at the prosecutor's office while Duggan was prosecutor. I think I was going to see somebody about something unrelated, and somebody introduced me to Mike Cox, and I said, hey, how's it going? And when he walked by, somebody said, that's the next Attorney General. I said, what are you talking about? I said, he's going to run for Attorney General as a Republican. And he barely won. And the one of the reasons why he won was Governor Granholm. It was her first run for governor. She won a close race, and she lost a lot of votes because a memo came out in which Kilpatrick sent Granholm a note saying, we'll support you for governor, but if you're elected, we need you to build every new state facility in the city of Detroit, starting with this, that, and the other thing, and we need this, and we need that. And when it came out, people were like, whoa, whoa, whoa. The governor's being held up by the mayor of Detroit. Who's going to run the state? Is it going to be Granholm or is it going to be Kilpatrick? It cost her a lot of support. She pulled through, but down ballot, Gary Peters, who at the time I think was running for Secretary of State. No, Gary Peters was running for Attorney General against Cox. And the candidate for Secretary of State, I don't remember who it was at the time, but they both lost very close races. And part of the reason why, I believe, was the downward force by that Kilpatrick basically demand memo to Granholm. So there's a lot of crossover with Cox, Kilpatrick, and Duggan. Do I think Duggan or Cox would have ordered or been involved in a cover-up of a party at the Manoogian Mansion? No. But would they have said, if you don't find a smoking gun, don't get a smoke detector to see if there's one where you didn't find it? Absolutely. And you may recall that the Michigan State Police, when Attorney General Cox at the time declared an end to the investigation, the Michigan State Police, in an almost unprecedented manner, came out and said, well, our investigation is still ongoing. And they complained that when Cox interviewed Carlita Kilpatrick, that their police were not allowed to be in on that interview, and the interview was not recorded. So yeah, there was a lot there. But I mean, I personally, when Mike Cox announced the findings of his investigation, I thought he was right on. No party but Kilpatrick's police bodyguards were getting away with murder. That there would, excuse me,
not literal, but yeah,
not murder. Yeah. That they were getting away with overtime, fraud, and that Christine Beatty firing Gary Brown, as he put it at the time, that's a matter that's probably best determined by a lawsuit, and it ultimately was, and that lawsuit led to the downfall of Kwame Kilpatrick. But I've always kind of felt a little responsible for Cox's pronouncement on the Manoogian Mansion party, because I knew one of the guys who was leading the investigation, and in the course of the investigation, he asked me, what do you think about this Manoogian Mansion party rumor? And I said, it has all the trappings of an urban myth. And he's like, oh, that's interesting. Months later, Cox has his announcement, says the Manoogian Mansion party rumor has all the trappings of an urban myth. I'm like, motherfucker, you're stealing my shit. But I don't know.
It wasn't that original.
No, it wasn't. But I mean, he could have at least put quote marks. Making a comment like that is what got the president of Harvard fired.
Except it was in a research paper.
Well, okay, man. Well,
right, Shawn, you got all that? Are you still with us?
He did a lot of research.
Yeah.
When are you heading out to San Fran?
Friday.
Really? Are you looking forward to it, or are you sick of traveling?
No, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the game. I've got a little family out there. I was, looking forward to it.
You really sold it.
No, hopefully I'm hoping I'll feel better by then. I should.
It's a big food town. Where are you eating?
Friday night, I'll probably go see some family. I need with them.
So you're a cannibal. Oh, you're going to eat with them. Okay.
Yeah, I'll eat with them. No, actually, I felt a little bit bad because, this is probably too personal for the
because we came to you for a big finish, and that's what we got.
I know, exactly.
What's that?
Nothing. Go ahead. No. Why do you feel bad?
We were expecting you to take us home, and you euthanized us.
No, I know. I'm just.
There's a big homeless population in San Francisco. Maybe we'll get some new jackets.
Yeah, San Francisco's become the new Chicago, right? Yeah, the new code word for certain folks. No, I had some family members really, really close. They lost their mother in the summer, and they planned a service they planned a funeral service out there for this past Saturday. And back in the summer, I said, of course I'll be out there. I'll come out there. Not just because I'm not used to worrying about traveling this time in the January with the Lions. I wasn't even thinking. And I knew they would
unless
be better,
the Lions make the Super Bowl, I'll be there. That's what you should have said. So I felt really
bad. So when I had to call a week ago or whatever, when they beat the Rams, and say, I'm sorry, I can't get out there. I mean, I had warned them ahead of time, and then oddly enough, here I am going the very next week. I told them I'd come out. So I'm going to go spend some time with them, and then that should be nice. I'm looking forward to that. Then the game itself should be great.
Was she a big Joy Division fan?
No, probably more of a Frank Sinatra fan,
Oh, okay. Well, I think he was in the band early on before they got Bernard Sumner, I think. He auditioned after Ian Curtis's death.
Yeah. No,
what's with all the moping? Why can't you just smile a little? And you with the bass, what's going on over there? I mean, he did play with Sinead O'Connor, so it's you cue ball over there.
That was Joe.
No, not Joe Piscopo. No, that was Phil Hartman.
Phil Hartman, you're right. That was Phil Hartman.
Also gone too soon.
I know.
So,
all right, I want a wild prediction out of you, Shawn. What's going to happen Sunday? Lions.
I don't know. I got to think that through.
You're the worst.
49ers, I guess.
What? I heard him say 49ers, I guess.
Yeah. You're not going to throw a score out there? Come on, give me some wild prediction.
Oh, man, I don't have to do that until later in the week for the paper, and I don't like doing it. What do you think? I think they can play with them. I don't think the talent difference is that great, though. Other than, the linebackers are better for San Francisco. The secondary is probably a little bit better, but I don't know.
They're going to win. And then I want a crazy prediction, like Brian Branch is going to score a defensive touchdown. How about that? There's my crazy prediction.
You're right. Turnovers for sure. Look, the Lions
don't be so analytical.
Talent. they have legitimate talent. They do, and they should be able to compete with them.
Well, here's a prediction from a source you wouldn't expect. The Lions are going to win.
Hey, you? Wow, you're on the bandwagon.
And I say this because we concluded our Clark Park Classic on Saturday. Joanna Tuttle was out there, was our MC,
nice.
which was fantastic. And I'll put some pictures up on our website or on Twitter for that. I scored a goal, which almost never happens. And then we went to Marge's bar and we watched Green Bay blow it. And if I can score a goal and Green Bay can almost beat San Francisco in San Francisco, then your Detroit Lions can definitely and will beat San Francisco in San Francisco.
Green Bay was balling. They were balling, and they have a great young quarterback who's mobile. Different dynamic, but I appreciate your sentimental.
Of course, I know nothing about football, so there's that caveat.
You don't?
You said he didn't.
I did.
Oh my Lord!
I think that's you may have been suffering jet lag from the flight from Dallas to Fort Worth.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Mike knows everything about everything, so why would I say that? I probably did say it, but it probably came out wrong.
Is that Bernie?
He doesn't know football like Marc knows football. That's probably what I was.
I'll go with that one. That's fine.
All right. Well, next week, Shawn, sounding even worse, will be back, and Marc and I will be here as well with another episode of The Soul of Detroit. So stay safe. Watch the Lions. They're just never going to stop. And they forced me to cancel my hockey game next Sunday. So the Lions are now impacting my life. So
should be in a good way.
So I may just grab onto the bandwagon so I have something to do on Sunday nights. Bulldogs, by the way, won 6-5 in overtime after the game last week. So
no one wants to be alone with his thoughts.
So we're on a
Is
roll.
that a scary place? You don't want to be alone with your thoughts?
No one wants to be alone with his thoughts.
It's a long, long way to the top when you want to rock and roll. And until then,
Jack,
we will let. Yeah, Shawn, are you going to have Occupy Shawn's car movement while you're in San Francisco? You have to give us a full update.
Sure.
Okay.
God, you're the worst.
Well, now that we're on a high, Cyrus, take us out.
Can you dig that?
Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
This is
ML Sola Detroit.
Their website says
ML Sola Detroit
is 5,000 years of civilization reborn. But what the does that actually mean? According to the Chinese Communist Party,
ML Sola Detroit
is a cult whose shows our propaganda hiding in plain sight. Rich coming from the CCP, but to be fair,
ML Sola Detroit
is put on by
3 idiots.